So BBC presenter Geeta Gurumurthy made a slightly embarrassing breach of Ofcom rules for broadcasters, for news companies, and again about Nigel Farage. And now it's interesting when there's been an election announced that lots of comments and debates are flying back and forth, lots of accusations, and in this case, ironically, inflammatory language by this BBC presenter. Now, I say it's ironic for reasons which will become apparent. Now, many of you will have seen this pop up on X or other social media, but just a brief explanation in this video as to why she's not allowed to make such comments. So let's move to what was said and then I'll tell you why. Take a listen to this.
BBC presenter Geeta Gurumurthy's mask appeared to slip when she made this remark in reaction to some of the comments that Nigel made.
About the wave of, and I'm using his words, not mine, aggressive young males that are coming into Poland, having crossed the Mediterranean, and he has said that this is now a matter of national security.
Nigel Farage with his customary inflammatory language there at a Reform UK press conference. He declined to stand for a seat, but we will have more.
So just pausing there. So she's obviously made a comment that it's customary inflammatory language, meaning this is the sort of language that he's always using, he's always being inflammatory. And whether you agree with that or not, whether it's correct or not, that is an opinion-based comment to make. And as a news company, the BBC no less, they shouldn't be making such comments because they are entrenched with opinion. But she did later make an apology, so all credit where it's due. This is the report on that apology.
Customarily inflammatory. Well, later Gurumurthy did make this apology.
Nigel Farage. Now, an apology. Earlier today, we heard live from Nigel Farage speaking at that election event we just saw. And when we came away from his live speech, I used language to describe it, which didn't meet the BBC's editorial standards on impartiality. I'd like to apologise to Mr Farage and viewers for this.
So a very brief apology there. So an apology nonetheless, but here is why. Because news companies and those that want to be called news companies need to be reporting news impartially, i.e. they are not telling you which way to think or what opinion to have about a given piece of news. They're supposed to tell you what the news is and that's it, allow you to make your own opinion. And more than that, if they invite somebody on to speak on a particular issue, they usually will have to invite someone else on to give a different opinion, usually the opposite and contrary opinion, so that you can get a balanced view of both sides of the argument. And again, you are left with the free choice to make decisions on what you think about it yourself. And it's this section here, section 5 of due impartiality and due accuracy, that news companies need to abide by under Ofcom rules. And it says here, the meaning of due impartiality. Due is an important qualification to the concept of impartiality. Impartiality itself means not favouring one side over another. Due means adequate or appropriate to the subject nature of the programme. So due impartiality does not mean an equal division of time has to be given to every view or that every argument and every facet of every argument has to be represented. The approach to due impartiality may vary according to the nature of the subject, the type of programme and the channel, the likely expectation, the audience as to content, the extent to which the content and approach is signalled to the audience. Context as defined throughout these rules. Now, essentially, with the BBC, you should expect that it is the very best of impartiality so as to not sway either one side or another and give you the free choice as to what to think. Now, as it was described in this segment we just watched, it is described as letting a mask slip. In other words, letting those opinions come through when they should not come through from the presenter. Now, as I say, credit where it's due, an apology was fairly forthcoming. And if you follow my X account, you might have noticed that I did pop up fairly quickly and before the apology was aired, where I said not impartial reporting by BBC News in my view, tagged Ofcom and then snapshotted this bit of due impartiality, which is Rule 5.1. News in whatever form must be reported with due accuracy and presented with due impartiality. And so very shortly after that, that apology that you just heard was broadcast, and these are the reasons why. When you are watching news companies, as it says in the guidance, it does depend on the nature of the audience, how the program's portrayed, what the audience will expect, and the impartiality needs to be appropriate and balanced according to the program, the audience, and the views and the arguments presented. So as it says in the guidance to those rules, it doesn't mean equal division of time to every given view, but in some scenarios, particularly with the BBC, you should expect that it is, insofar as is possible, completely impartial in accordance with the BBC's editorial guidelines. So I hope you found that interesting. If you do, please do remember to like the video and subscribe. About 70% of you don't. I'd be really grateful if you did. It's the one metric I have here on YouTube to keep growing the channel and keep growing the audience. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.